All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriot Underground. Today is Monday, November 17th. Happy Q Day to everybody out there, 2025. And it is my pleasure to welcome you folks back. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and tuning in to discover the truth beneath the surface. Well, here we are again on another Monday, which just so happens to be my day with the great Mike King from realnewsandhistory.com. It's always a great pleasure to welcome him back to the show, especially on the heels of that trip to Mar-a-Lago, which we mentioned last week. Of course, I saw the pictures that Dave posted. You guys made me thoroughly jealous. So I wanted to take a minute at the beginning of the show to acknowledge that and have you talk a little bit about that experience. So how you doing tonight? And
there was an empty plate, presumably for you, which was cool because I got 2 desserts.
Oh, did you?
No, he's away.
I so want to know, man. But yeah, tell us about it.
Well, it was a great time. You know, the weather. First thing I noticed, because I'm always looking for this thing, I was really concerned about the so-called airport delays because of the shutdown. Sailed right in and out of Newark and back. And I was monitoring all the flights. No delays anywhere. I think that whole thing was fabricated.
Yeah.
But the trip was smooth, and the weather was great. Mar-a-Lago was just a beautiful location. It was a nice event.
Mm-hmm.
And interesting observations. This was This event was held on to honor James O'Keefe, his new organization. You know, he used to do Project Veritas.
Oh, sure, yeah. We're actually going to mention him tonight in the course of the show.
Yeah. Actually, it came up coincidentally during my research, something that he had posted.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just further confirmed for me that he's always been part of the operation. Is somehow involved.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet him, or what was that?
Oh, I didn't meet him personally. I don't get starstruck.
No, I just figured maybe
Carrie Lake was there, and
who was
Carrie Lake.
Oh, cool. Okay, nice.
Well,
people should be starstruck with you. I mean, you're the great Mike.
That's how I feel, right? Yeah. But I think I would keep my humility more than some of these people. I just there just didn't seem to be much humility in that room. A lot of ego. Some of these characters get full of themselves, even though they're working for the operation. You just tell the way they carry themselves.
Yeah, and we're just a lowly podcaster class, Yeah,
we had the podcaster table, but we're the only ones who know what's going on. That's interesting. Just from casual conversations with people there, it's all MAGA normiedom.
Of course, yeah.
It's like really surreal, and they're like worried about Antifa and stuff.
Well, that's why it was such a big deal. Even though they may not have recognized it, it was a really big deal to have people like yourself and Dave and Rambo and the guys from Absolute Storm, people who actually know what's going on inside the Winter White House. That's a historic.
It was interesting, and the gentleman who hosted us. It turns out he's been reading my stuff from the beginning. He had an original copy of The Bad War before Amazon banned it.
Wow.
And he's promoting me everywhere. I want to, get you better known. And I said, well, I appreciate that, but these people aren't ready for me. Certainly not the operatives. But
imagine, right?
He did strike up a conversation with a woman on the shuttle on the way over there. Elderly lady, and she kept asking me the questions, and I had her ear for like 20 minutes. She was blown away.
Nice.
She was very concerned about Antifa and Soros, where the country's going.
Yep.
I said, listen, there's a military operation on the way. Everything's under control. And directed her to my website. But it's interesting because it just goes to show that the operation itself, through its agents, is deceiving our own. And I suppose that's necessary as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like you and I have talked about on countless occasions that the Q team knows that there was going to be a certain contingent, relatively small in the grand scheme of things, that was going to, not that we have all the answers. I mean, we're the first to admit we don't know where the movie is going, but to really get our fingers on the pulse of the way that the operation is being run. But they wanted to keep that, kind of keep a lid on that. And that's what I would expect if I went to Mar-a-Lago, which, I mean, hopefully at some point I'll have the opportunity to do that. I mean, mainly for me, it was more about getting to meet you and getting to meet Dave and some of these other guys.
Yeah.
That's why I, was really disappointed I couldn't go. But I would imagine if I was going to be going on a trip like that I'd be running into the MAGA normies everywhere, and that's basically Trump's immediate orbit, and all for good reason, because they need to prop up the illusion in order for the whole thing to be effective, for the plan to work. But well, that's really cool that you got a chance to go. And, I know at some point you and I are going to meet and be able to sit down and just share some laughs. And I really look forward to that.
Yeah.
So, well, tonight, folks, why don't we pivot here and get to the heart of the matter? We have a banger of a show for all of you. We're going to dive directly into the heart of what's really going on right now, what really matters. We're going to cut through all the noise that we've recently been subjected to by the screenwriters at 4POG, otherwise known as White Hat Productions. We're going to take a look at Mike's two most recent Q York Times articles that really hone in on, I think, the primary issues that everybody wants to hear about right now. And they're going to address this perceived, quote unquote, division within the MAGA movement, particularly as it pertains to Marjorie Taylor Greene and what that signals with regard to the advancement of the Epstein files, as well as Trump's optical support of Netanyahu. So we're going to go back to the source tonight. We're going to review what Q had to say about Rachel Chandler. That is, of course, the reference that I made to James O'Keefe. Mike's going to elaborate on that. But MTG famously tweeted that name in response to one of his Epstein-related posts. And in the process, Mike's going to lay it all out. He's going to examine the tactical reasons for this latest edition of kayfabe. Once again, engaging in the all-important process of pattern recognition in order to recognize this development as a key indicator of what's to come on the Epstein front. And of course, we also have the looming vote on the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which we can probably mention in the course of that discussion. So that's going to be the first segment. And then the second piece, we're going to break down Trump's maneuvering from a totally different angle. So contrary to his fake feud with Marjorie Taylor Greene, we're going to examine his repeated calls for BB 2.0 to be pardoned. And that's going to be the focal point as we highlight Trump's tactic of appearing to side with the Zionist agenda while in the process of actually amplifying the growing unrest that's basically everywhere now, especially within Israel over Netanyahu. They're calling for an independent investigation into 10/7. The truth is coming out. They can't prevent it. Nothing can stop it. So Mike and I agree this could very well be the spark that ultimately lights the fuse and detonates 9/11 truth a little bit down the road. So that should be an interesting segment as well. And then finally, in the history portion, Mike is going to present a segment of his book, one of his banned books that you cannot get on Amazon. They are way too hot. This is the accompanying piece to The Bad War, called The Song That Never Ends. And in that segment, Mike is going to talk about the findings, I believe, of two very prominent Jewish historians who have asserted that there's really no hard evidence to support the narrative of mass exterminations during World War II. So hopefully you folks will enjoy tonight's episode. Please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button while we pause for a very quick word from tonight's sponsor. We'll be right back.
Are you stuck in the energy crash cycle, fighting fatigue, sugar cravings, stubborn weight, and constant health worries? Here's the real reason. Up to 88% of American adults are suffering from hidden insulin resistance. It's the silent trigger behind weight gain, low energy, high blood pressure, inflammation, skin tags, diabetes, and more. But you can break out without extreme diets or prescriptions. Introducing the Feel Great Protocol, a simple, science-backed, two-step daily system that's already transforming thousands of lives. Step 1, Unimate, a potent yerba mate extract clinically proven to boost mood, sharpen focus, and help your body burn fat. Step 2, Balance, a patented fiber matrix you take before meals. It helps flatten blood sugar spikes, crushes cravings, and supports a healthy insulin response. No gimmicks, no guesswork, just real results. If you struggle with weight, fatigue, sugar cravings, blood sugar, diabetes, inflammation, or other health issues, this is your invitation to feel great again. Your health comes first, protected with our 90-day money-back guarantee. Head over to PatriotSpecial.com. That's PatriotSpecial.com. It's time to feel great and reclaim your health.
All right. And I just have to mention really quickly before we dive in, I've actually been using this product, the Unimate powder, which, as the video mentioned, is a supercharged version of Yerba Mate. And I have experienced dramatic results in focus, in energy, in general well-being, and I've only been taking it for less than a week. So this is no joke, folks. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And the people that follow me know that I only promote products that I believe in. I was approached with this a sponsorship opportunity, and I said, okay, well, let me sample the product. Let me see what I think. And I have to tell you, I am super impressed. So I urge everybody out there to click on the link in the description. And it's also going to be in the chat as well to learn more about this amazing product from Unicity. And I also included in the description of the video a link to some testimonials of other folks who have not only experienced what I just mentioned in terms of energy, mood, general sense of well-being, but have lost, in some cases, over 100 pounds by following this protocol. This is the real deal. We're talking about life-changing results in an effort to reclaim your health. So go ahead and take a look for yourself. And I want to thank Unicity for sponsoring tonight's show. So with that, Mike, why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm going to pull up our slides, and we're going to talk a little bit at first about Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is the story that everybody is buzzing about. This happened a couple of days ago when Trump called her out on Truth Social. So why don't you take us through this and we'll break it all down.
Yeah, it's a big story made so deliberately by the COG, Continuity of Government Q-Controlled Media. They're amplifying it. That's a New York Times headline on the bottom there. Marjorie Taylor Greene, straying from Trump, shows the emerging MAGA split. That's actually a few weeks ago, that one. So this has been building up.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that headline. That was a few weeks ago. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that bottom one's a few weeks ago. So they had been going back and forth, but now Trump has made the so-called rupture final and irreparable, it seems. He called her a ranting lunatic, and he's calling for someone to come forth and primary her. He wants to get rid of her.
Yep.
It's some very nasty stuff. All she does is complain. She's a lightweight. And
he actually dubbed her Marjorie Trader Greene. He actually went that. So this is classic.
Yeah,
classic cave.
But this is. There's so many precedents for this. If you've been following the operation all along, this is very transparent. But of course, for MAGA normies, they're all up in arms. They think the movement's being divided.
Yep.
And so on. And then, of course, the black pillars are going to black pill. Trump is he's a Zionist. He doesn't want the Epstein files coming out. So it's rather amusing. And part of me thought, well, I don't even have to rebut this. But then I'm thinking, well, actually, I do.
Yeah.
Because every time this happens, it doesn't matter how many precedents there are. There's a certain number of people who just will fall off the wagon. And then you got to round them up again.
Yep.
So true. Everybody just relax. This is a fake rupture, a fake political divorce. This is all part of the operation. It's all part of the movie, and there's an important objective here, which we will discuss shortly.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Mike, we typically run into some side sounds, like side effects on. I hear some dripping water, running water going on over there. So
you know what? That's the fish tank. Hold on.
Oh, is it the fish tank? All right. So we can add that to the list. This will be the fish tank show. We had the cricket show.
Oh, fish crickets. Darth Vader, the heater.
Yeah, we've heard it all.
It's funny. It's funny how I never understood how background sounds sometimes come in better than your actual voice, but that's just the way it is.
Well, as long as the fish are safe, we just have to make sure that the fish are safe.
Yeah.
We don't want anybody, having the cricket reaction, like, oh, Mike's not going to kill his fish, is he? All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this. And you're absolutely right. I just want to underscore the point that you made. Every time there is a new introduction of kayfabe, even though we've talked about it over and over and over, you're absolutely spot on that so many people just get sucked right back into the drama, right back into the movie. And as Anons, it truly is. I've come to realize it's just our responsibility to, as you put it, to round everybody back up again and to just reassure folks out there that this is all part of the operation. And more importantly, what is the angle behind it? Why are the white hats doing this? That's what we're going to really focus on here tonight. So here we go.
All right. So this is from the New York Times excerpt. President Trump is done with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. And the newspaper is playing a role here. Nobody's being duped. The media is part of the deception. Once one of Mr. Trump's most reliable allies on Capitol Hill, the Georgia Republican has increasingly broken ranks with him, most notably by calling for the release of the Justice Department's files about the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Boom. That's what this is about.
Yep.
By Friday evening, Mr. Trump let the world know how he felt. I'm withdrawing my support and endorsement of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of the great state of Georgia. Over the past several weeks, Mr. Trump said, all I see is wacky Marjorie do is complain, complain, complain. And what is she complaining about? Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. So you see where we're going with this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And isn't it interesting, Mike? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention earlier precedents of this.
Oh, yeah, sure.
There's no excuse for any Q student to fall off the wagon here. That's for MAGA normies.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we seen this dynamic here, where Trump will suddenly break with someone who was either a political ally or someone he admired or respected, and then all of a sudden he hates that person.
Yep.
We saw it with Robert Mueller, and that's what gave Mueller the protective cover to run the so-called Russia investigation, which was never a threat to Trump. Mm-hmm. But it did take down Tony Podesta.
Yep.
But he attacked Mueller. His own attorney, Michael Cohen, they had a split. And then Cohen writes a book attacking Trump. That was all fake. It was Michael Cohen's office that was raided by Mueller. Came out of there with all of this data. God knows how many people they hanged with that stuff.
Yep. How do you legally inject evidence? That was Michael Cohen's saga. Yep.
Kim Jong-un, who he said throughout I want to meet with him. And then when they attacked him, he flipped it around. He said, little rocket man, I'm going to bomb him. That was all fake. And then the two of them waltzed into North Korea holding hands. Vladimir Putin, he's often turned against Putin and threatened Russia. That's all fake. Assad of Syria, Jeff Sessions. That gave Jeff Sessions the protective cover he needed to fire a boatload of deep staters in the FBI, and on his way out the door, shut down Epstein's island. Mm-hmm. The whole while Trump is saying what a mistake Jeff Sessions was. He's ineffective.
Yeah, exactly.
Jim Jordan of the Congressional Freedom Caucus, which were Trump's staunchest allies, but because it was so early in his presidency, he could not be seen embracing these far-right congressmen.
Right.
So instead, what he did, he says they're extreme, that Freedom Caucus. But the whole time, they've been his strongest supporters. And then later on, Trump openly embraced them. Mm-hmm. Fed Chair Jerome Powell, that's all kayfabe when he attacks Powell and the Fed. He got rid of Janet Yellen for the specific purpose of putting Powell in there.
Yep.
Powell is overseeing the demise of the Fed. Thomas Massie of Kentucky, again, he's another one who has been very vocal on the issues of Israel and Epstein Island. Trump can't quite go there yet, so he distances himself from Massie. Mm-hmm. And every time he attacks these people, he elevates their profile. So that violates the most fundamental, basic maxim of political marketing. You don't punch down.
Right.
So in doing so, you're taking your adversary and lifting him up to your level.
Yeah, I mean, even whether he attacks them or whether he praises them, no matter what Trump says about a person, he's putting the spotlight on that person.
Yeah, that's right.
And the tell when they're an operative, when he attacks them, that's usually the tell that he's providing them some sort of a cover for them.
Right. He's either giving them a cover or he's keeping his hands clean to let them do their dirty work, or a combination of both.
That's correct. Yep.
Steve Bannon. Remember, he started referring to him as Sloppy Steve. He was attacking Bannon.
Yeah. These are all his biggest allies. I mean, it's
exactly. Whenever he comes up for a nickname for somebody he was close to.
Yep.
I mean, if you've ever seen the movie The Sting, this is how Robert Redford and Paul Newman played their target, a gambler. They pretended to have a falling out.
That's right.
And that is what enabled the character played by Redford to get close to the target. They did this in The Godfather with Luca Brasi. They sent them over, make them think you're not happy with our family. Of course, the Tattaglia smelled that out and they killed him. They knew what the game was. Oh, Ron DeSantis, when Ron DeSantis ran for president, and everyone is upset. Why is he running against Trump in the primaries? No, that was a smoke him out operation. I called that day one, because everybody who jumped ship and became a DeSantis supporter, that told Trump who he couldn't trust.
That's right.
And then later on, after one or two primaries, DeSantis drops out and embraces Trump, and they kiss and make up. He did so most recently with Elon Musk, and there's been others. So this is standard operating procedure. So whenever there's a split, always ask yourself, what's the game here? In this case, it's very simple.
Yep. No, I agree.
Marjorie is she's the Epstein activist.
She is. She's one of the loudest voices. I would argue that her and Thomas Massie are really the loudest voices that are pushing for Epstein, and really, at least within the political system, they're the ones who are driving this whole conversation about what is MAGA actually? What is it really? Is it Israel first? Or is it America first? Yeah. And, she's been ramping this up. So it's not really all that surprising. But I think part of it is, you mentioned the MAGA normies not long ago, and there's a number of just massively influential podcasters out there, media personalities who cater specifically to that audience. And they take everything that Trump says at face value. They don't understand the whole concept of kayfabe, or if they do, perhaps they're tasked to push this specific narrative. Either they don't get it, or they have a specific narrative that they have to push, and there's only certain areas where they can go. But I think what happens for a lot of folks out there is a big story like this happens. And even though they might have the instinct, as you pointed out, as a seasoned anon, we all should recognize that immediately what this is after we've been through it cycle after cycle. I mean, over and over and over again, even though they might have that instinct, again, it's the same pattern we've always discussed, is that people go online. They want to, and it's not a bad thing. They go on social media, they go on X, they want to hear what everybody is saying about it to inform their own opinions, but they get drawn back into the drama. And as soon as that happens, all of a sudden they're not observing the movie anymore from a critical perspective. They're wrapped up in all of the drama. The emotions take over. People are taking sides and all of this stuff. And it's really easy, even at this late stage of the game, for people to fall into that trap. You see it happen over and over and over again. And it's not a criticism of anybody out there. It's just an observation. But
no, it is. That's why I always say, if you really want to know the truth, just stay grounded in the Q operation. You can't go wrong.
Yep.
And as far as some of the other influencers and podcasters, my opinion is that it's a combination. So, some of them, that's their job, to put out the fake narrative as part of the operation. We have to respect that. And others are just, they're just not, they don't have the solid foundation. So they twist with the wind.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I mean, either way one goes. I mean, it all adds to the power of the deception. But if you want peace of mind, you have to just stay firmly grounded in the belief that the Patriots are in control. That's not false optimism. It's so obvious. They're running these. These are fake. Everything is fake.
Yep.
This one is so painfully obvious. And when I get into the specific purpose of it, you'll see it.
Yep, exactly. I think, as far as the podcasters go, I think without getting into naming anybody specifically, because that's not what I do, but I think the ones that talk about Q, but they do it sort of on the periphery. I'll mention one person who's obviously very well known, which is X22, Dave from X22.
Right.
He talks about Q. He'll reference the Q drops, but he doesn't go as deep as we go in terms of explaining, what's actually going on. To a certain extent, he carries that narrative for the white hats, but I think he has I think he knows everything that we know. Whereas there are some other people out there that don't talk about Q at all. and basically just, sycophantically support everything that Trump says and does without any critical thinking or discernment. And that's kind of the way I see those two separate categories. But in any event, everybody's here because they want to know what we think. And I think it's probably a good. So let's move on.
So that's what this is all about. The Epstein Files Transparency Act. There's Margie from this past summer. Big event in D.C. She's there with Massey and also some Democrats. And these are all fake Democrats, of course. So this gives a bipartisan flavor to it. But yeah, it is the Democrats who are most vocal and certainly most numerous in taking the lead in demanding the release of these Epstein files. Mm-hmm. Not Trump, not the conservative Republicans, not the MAGA Republicans. It's the Democrats. So that's how they engineered this, with a small handful of Republicans like Margie and Massey who are pushing for it.
Right.
And this is what caused the so-called divide between her and Trump. Trump, the one who as far back as 2016 was talking about Epstein Island.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So why the change? Why is Trump obviously now he's covering up? There's a purpose for it. And it's not what normies might think. I mean, libtards think he raped children. That's how stupid they are, But even the MAGA base is scratching their heads on this one. Yeah, why is Trump covering up? They don't complain about it because they just, they've got the cult-like worship of Trump.
That's right.
But they don't understand. But that's what we're here for. So
Exactly.
Margie has been demanding the release of the Epstein files, and Trump, and this has been going on for months, building up to this point, the final rupture. Trump keeps saying, "Oh, it's a hoax. Let it go. Nothing to see here." The same with Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. Mm-hmm. So what this has done now, they have framed this now in such a way that when it comes out, can't nobody say, "Oh, this is Trump exacting his revenge against his political enemies. Perhaps this is all trumped up." No pun intended. Maybe this is all manipulated. No, you can't, because Trump has had to be dragged, kicking and screaming to this point. Yep. And that's the illusion. That's the psychology there. That's Nobody can say Trump did it, because it's the Democrats doing it.
Mm-hmm. And logic, I mean, it's just so obvious. The logic dictates. First of all, if Trump were implicated, we all know that this would have come out years ago. He never would have even made it down the escalator. They would have already had this stuff out there, regardless of who else had implicated in the process, right?
Yeah.
Not only that, if you're even remotely guilty or have anything to hide, you're not going to put a spotlight on it. And Trump, like you mentioned, has been doing that going back like 8 years now. He's been talking about Epstein or more. So why would you draw attention to something that you wanted nobody to discover, to figure out?
Right.
I mean, and I could go on. Obviously, there's so much that if you just apply a little bit of not only logic but discernment, you can very easily tell that what's actually going on here. But again, people don't have a memory. They only watch what's in the the 24-hour news cycle, and that's all they pay attention to. And so it's but that's, I guess in this case it's a good thing, because it helps advance the operation on this front. It creates the illusion that Trump actually has something to hide, even though if you go back and you look at his history and all the things that he said about child predators, child rapists, quick trial, death penalty, all the stuff that he's done, and not to mention, of course, his role as an FBI informant. I don't know if you're going to talk about that as well, but it just goes on and on. I mean, this guy has a long history of really shining a spotlight on Epstein.
Yeah, that's right.
And this picture right here was actually, if you blew it up a little bit, you could see some of the signs in the back said like Trump is on the Epstein list, and Trump is a pedo or whatever. And you see all of these pictures of people like creating memes being like, this is the moment when Marjorie Taylor Greene betrayed Trump. And it's like, oh man, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah. It's just perfect, because And, as is so often the case with the passage of time, we understand why we've had to be patient for so long.
Right.
Because can you imagine if when they staged that stunt when all those Pam Bondi handed out the so-called first batch of Epstein files to those people?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
By the way, that real tall fellow, the gay guy with the real long hair, forget his name. He was at Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, was it? I don't know.
But he's one of the people who's given that file, and then nothing became of it, and we were upset. But had they started to release bombs back then, how much of the public might have questioned it? It's like, oh, he's been president a month, and already he's going for revenge, and it's all Democrats on the list. I don't buy it,
Yep.
But now it's been framed that the Democrats are forcing Trump.
Yep.
With a hand from a few Republicans.
Right.
So it's so much better. Yeah.
And, another indication here that this is a scripted movie, in case you needed another bit of evidence. The last time I checked, the DOJ is actually the ones who are in charge of releasing all of this information. They're part of the executive branch. Right. So that means that Trump could very easily order Pam Bondi to release the Epstein files. Now, they don't need to go through this process of the Epstein Files Transparency Act and pass it through Congress and all. There's no need for that.
That's right.
It's just all a show. Trump could literally, in 2 seconds, pick up the phone, call Bondi, and say, all right, release it. And she would have to do it. But they're going through this whole process. And I actually think this is going to coincide with with this whole movement to terminate the filibuster. Because I think the way it looks right now is you've got what I was just reading before we came on air is that the House is poised to pass this Epstein Files Transparency Act, but we can only anticipate what's going to happen when it makes it to the Senate. Right? They're going to put up the roadblocks again, and that's going to probably reinvigorate the whole conversation about ending the filibuster. So, I mean, this is all part of a movie, folks. Mm-hmm. I mean, this whole drama that they're scripting around this, if you really think about it for a second, there's no need for them to pass a law in order to get Trump to have the DOJ, to order the DOJ to release this information. So just figured I'd throw that out there.
Yeah. Now, here's where it gets really juicy and exciting. Who is Rachel Chandler? That is a post that was posted by Q in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably about 25 or so posts that are either text or images or a combination of both connected to Rachel Chandler. So this is a central figure in the whole Epstein, child trafficking, child sex ring, murder ring, whatever operation. So this is big. It's key. And another Q post actually says Rachel Chandler is key, capital Key.
Mm-hmm.
And in a little bit, we'll look at some of the images in the post. But Rachel Chandler, somebody who's in the shadows, nobody has ever heard about, but Q made a big deal about her. Mm-hmm. She is evidently the satanic sex trafficker to the stars, the political stars and as well as the Hollywood stars. And Q also told us, watch the news for Rachel Chandler. So she's key to bringing everything down, to ushering in the storm. And we were told to watch the news for her name because she's an unknown. So we're all waiting for that magic moment when this character, Rachel Chandler, becomes a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just 2 months ago, Marjorie Taylor Greene made a one-line post, just the name, Rachel Chandler. Now, that's not exactly making the news, but it's getting close because Marjorie Taylor Greene has certainly made the news, right?
Yes, yeah.
And she just posts Rachel Chandler. Now, she's probably got some following amongst Q people. I mean, she originally was a Q promoter, then she had to back away, of course. But I would imagine most of her followers don't know what the hell that means. They're probably asking the same question that Q had posited. Who is Rachel Chandler?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in looking up this old post, I realized this is coincidence because this was an event in Mar-a-Lago that was fundraising honoring James O'Keefe. But she posted Rachel Chandler in response to another tweet by James O'Keefe, which read as follows: "World exclusive bombshell, all caps. Senior Department of Justice Epstein investigator reveals that Epstein was CIA." Well, Mossad controls the CIA. You just can't say that yet. But he's Mossad. We know that.
You told us, though.
Yeah.
Made that very clear. Yeah.
He confirms that rapes occurred while Bill Clinton was on the plane. That would be Epstein's plane. And he says of President Trump, he, meaning Trump, is protecting a lot of other people. He's not protecting himself because there's nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
And then in response, Marjorie Taylor Greene posts Rachel Chandler. So, a couple things here. Because I've been wondering now for months, how are they going to spin the damaging data that comes out of the Epstein file? How are they going to spin Trump's reluctance to release it? I mean, clearly he's not involved in these activities, but there still has to be a reason why he was dragging his feet and obstructing, which everybody sees now. Mm-hmm. Perhaps this will be it. I don't know. I'm just speculating it. Perhaps they'll play it as, the president did not feel it was in the interest of the nation to show them that Bill Clinton abused little children, raped children, or some of these other powerful people. Something to say. He wasn't covering up. He was just, in his way, he felt it was just so damaging the country couldn't handle it. I don't know. There has to be a way to spin that.
Why did Trump
want this? I don't know.
I mean, once the enormity of this comes out, I mean, we're actually talking about satanic ritual abuse. We're talking about raping babies. I mean, we're talking about the worst of the worst stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, there would be no excuse for covering up because it's too terrible. But I mean, it's not nearly as bad as if Trump himself participated in it.
Oh, of course not.
It's in the back of my mind. At some point, they will have to explain to normiedom why Trump was stonewalling. They can't come out and say, well, I wanted to make it look good, like I was forced. I don't think they'll do that. So we'll see how they play it. But
one thing I've wondered about, and this kind of pertains, it not only pertains to Epstein, but it really pertains to the larger question of why is Trump so seemingly on the surface? Why is he Israel first? Why is he surrounding himself with all these Zionists? Why is Kash Patel contradicting himself? Why are these individuals seem to be all about anti-Semitism? I mean, everybody in his cabinet, from RFK to Kristi Noem to, even the Department of Education, all the way down, they're like making anti-Semitism a priority. So I've thought about that in the grand scheme of things. Like, how are they going to spin? First of all, how are they going to pivot? What's going to be the event that's going to allow them to pivot, and how are they going to spin that in the aftermath? And part of me wonders if there's a possibility that they could reveal, to a certain extent, not the full scope of the Q operation, but to a certain extent, they could reveal that part of this was a sting operation to flush all of these people out, to make sure that the nation was focused on this issue. In other words, to basically just, in a sense, kind of square with the American people, to say, this is what we needed to do in order to get eyes on this story. And, we're basically posing, people inside of Trump's administration have been posing as being Israel first and so forth, in order to highlight this issue, to get everybody to pay attention to it. I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out, but it really is one of the big intriguing.
Well, it would certainly accentuate the depths of the betrayal if all this stuff comes out about Israel. And then Trump and all the pro-Israel people, they could just play the role of people who feel so betrayed and didn't see it coming.
Yeah, right.
But make no mistake, while that's going on, there's a whole nother arm, like an octopus. You got one arm of the octopus is patting Israel on the back, and the other one is stabbing Israel.
Well, right, yeah.
And the central brain controls them both.
Yeah, but nobody really, in the grand scheme of things, there aren't many people who can see that Trump is actually with his other hand stabbing Israel in the back.
Oh, of course, no, yeah, they
don't.
can't, and they won't. But maybe at some point now, he's so well positioned to play the role of the jilted lover. Like, how could they have done this to me? You saw how much I did for Israel. Who was more for Israel? Nobody. So,
well, I think with respect to
Yeah.
10-7, for example, right? Because there's these massive demonstrations that are just, it seems like every weekend inside of Israel, they're having these huge protests over Netanyahu, calling for an independent investigation of 10-7, basically saying that it has to be independent of Netanyahu, because the optics they're presenting is, sure, we'll do an investigation, but Netanyahu is going to appoint all the members, right? So they're going to arrive at the conclusion he wants them to, and the people in Israel are saying no. It's one thing for Trump to pivot on that and say, "Wow, I didn't know." He could kind of play dumb in a sense, like, I had no idea that this was all state, well, not state, that this was a stand down order, et cetera, et cetera. That I think the public would probably understand and accept. But when it comes to the Epstein files, I don't think that anybody who even has a couple of brain cells is going to believe that Trump was unaware of the severity of these crimes, of the people who are wrapped up in it. As the president of the United States, everybody knows that he's been briefed on this.
Right.
He has all the information, but he's also, according to many, and I believe this to be true, has been working with the FBI for a very long time to bring this guy down. So that's where I think maybe that might be part of.
Well, they might explain it that way, that it was still an ongoing investigation going on. So, and I had to go along with the delay. That could be a way out of it as well.
Right.
That would work very well. You won't have to say that he was covering up anything. He just said He was sensitive. There was still stuff that was ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how he plays it.
Yeah.
But all of this, and by the way, since I published this piece, I just it was like late last night or this morning, Trump has given his blessing.
Oh yeah, yep.
To release this. So
yeah, he said we have nothing to hide. I mean, he's still calling it a Democrat hoax and all that, but
and he says they're the ones who are going to be hurt by it. So,
yep, and he keeps talking about Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
So we know where this leads, and I'm sure you got that picture of Chandler, the handler, with Billy Boy.
So see, these are some Q posts mentioning Rachel Chandler. Here's one. Rachel Chandler had the possible Epstein Island security cam pic on her Instagram. These people were so arrogant. They felt so invulnerable. This is the stuff they used to do, just like the Pizzagate perverts. They put it on their Instagram, their Twitter, their Facebook, whatever. They don't care. Nobody could touch them because, remember, they never thought she'd lose. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, according to Q, this is purported to be the security cameras at Epstein's Island. If you look real closely, you see children in what appears to be a basement. Yep. So now we're going way beyond just 17, 18-year-old girls, prostitutes. We're groomed to be that way. So, I mean, that's bad enough. But now we're getting into the little children because I believe Epstein had something for everybody, whatever your sick, twisted fetish was. You like little children, you like toddlers, you like little boys, you like babies. We got it for you. But this is what Rachel Chandler's posting on her Instagram. She's a real monster.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. And there she is. That's Rachel Chandler on the left. And that tweet reads on the bottom, well, it says Chandler equals child handler. These people are sick. So that's probably not her real name, maybe. Yep. And then on the bottom, watch the news for Rachel Chandler. Mm-hmm. And I remember this post well from 6 years ago, more than 6.5 years ago.
Yep. Waiting
for the day when her name is mentioned in the news. It's not there yet, but it was mentioned by Marjorie, and now she's in the news. So it seems to me like we're getting close. I'm not going to set any dates or expectations.
No, of course not. Yeah. No, it's definitely
this woman is big. She is key. Mm-hmm. And then on the right, there's another Q post. This is really sickening. They're with this little baby. Whose baby is that? How did they come about this baby? What do they intend to do with this baby? Is this baby even alive? I doubt it. These are all Satanists. That child has been sacrificed. If it was lucky, that's all that happened to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. I mean, when this stuff comes out, I mean, this is
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I think they're going to have to square with the American people to a certain extent on the Epstein issue, because there's a lot of ways you can spin the other stuff, but nobody's going to believe that Trump did not know all of this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
No one's going to believe it. So I think to a certain extent, there's going to have to be some transparency.
No, I think your theory is very intriguing there.
Yeah.
Well, they could spin it that we delayed because there was still investigation ongoing.
Right.
If we released everything, we wouldn't have gotten everybody, something like that. That's perfect.
Yeah. And
so
it could possibly trickle down to other questionable things that the administration is doing on behalf of Israel. They could somehow weave that into the narrative as well. But this is so sickening that, I mean, this is the stuff that Q talked about, that, the enormity of what's coming.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't get any more horrific than this stuff.
Because remember now, even though all of this stuff was done a long time ago, for public consumption, we're going to be led to believe that this is the work of Kash Patel who unraveled all of this. And he's only been in business, 8 months?
Well, that's kind of what I was referring to. Yeah.
That would necessarily entail that all this stuff is being unraveled now in fantasy land, in movie land.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Because they can't say, well, this was going on back in the Biden years. We got all this. No. So if that's the case, now you have the perfect escape mechanism, the perfect pretext. We had to delay on this because Kash was still getting to the bottom of it.
That's right. And it would also explain
that would work. Yeah.
It would also explain the optics of him contradicting himself, saying that day one, we're going to release the Epstein files and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden changing the whole story around, appearing as if he's blackmailed by by Mossad and all that. I mean, I think this could be the linchpin that, could set it all off. But, and also tie up a lot of the loose ends that we're wondering, because as this goes on, the deeper it goes, as Q told us, the deeper we go, something along these lines, the deeper we go, the more unreal it all becomes. And I think ultimately, when he said, the choice to know will be yours, the ending won't be for everyone. It's, we're kind of at that. And I feel like we're in that phase right now, where every single day, especially for all the MAGA normies out there, the knot seems to be getting more and more twisted and tied up. And, at a certain point, I personally believe that the only way out of this that's going to really be, accepted and believed by the vast majority of the public, once this information comes out, is to level with the American people to a certain degree. I mean, they're not going to reveal everything, obviously, but just in order to deliver this information and explain all the delays and all the posturing, and to me, it just seems unavoidable. But again, we'll have to see how it plays out. I could be wrong, but in any event, the important thing is that this is very much on the front burner right now. So.
And this ties into the James O'Keefe tweet and the Marjorie Taylor Greene response, the one-word response. Rachel Chandler to O'Keefe tweeting about rapes occurring on the plane when Clinton was there. Well, there they are. There's Rachel Chandler with Bill Clinton. And again, this is from her social media, recopied by the Q posts.
Yep. There it is.
So it appears, we hope, that this Marjorie Trump rupture is leading to this stuff right here.
Absolutely.
And we know Bill Clinton's track record.
Oh, yeah.
Highly credible assertions of rape, physical rape, not womanizing, physical violent rape from two different women. There was Juanita Broderick. And there was also a woman in England when Trump was a Rhodes Scholar. Claims that she was raped and that Bill Clinton was expelled from the Rhodes Scholarship program.
Yeah, right.
Even though it was hushed up. And indeed, he never finished. He never got his full Rhodes Scholarship.
That's right.
which is very strange for somebody who's that politically ambitious. You wouldn't just drop out like that.
Yep. And all these women, by the way, they tell the same story about Clinton. I don't know if you ever read, Roger Stone wrote a book about it. It was the Clintons' War on Women. I remember reading it back. I don't know.
Yeah.
Gosh, it was probably like back in 2016 or something like that. But that he would, lean in and he would actually bite their ear so they couldn't move. And to go from there. But they all tell a very, very similar story.
Yeah, he was a nasty man.
Total monster.
Nasty man.
Yep. And Trump keeps bringing his name up.
Yep. And also, the first time Trump mentioned Epstein's Island, it was in, it may have been 2015, not even 16. He was a candidate, and he was on the Sean Hannity show, and he said, Bill Clinton, he's a nice man, but I think he's going to have some problems with that island, Epstein's Island. He said that in 2015, 10 years ago.
Exactly. So, and that's what I was referring to before. I mean, if Trump was in any way tied up in any of this stuff, that would be the last.
Oh, of course not. Yeah, that's absurd. Only libtards and black pillars even suspect such a thing.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
So they're in for a nice surprise.
Mm-hmm. Boomerangs.
And once again, this is Rachel Chandler's own social media, copied by Q and posted. Keep digging, Anons. Rachel Chandler is key. All caps. Is key. She really is the key. She brings it all down because she takes this to a whole new level. All of the other stuff that we're all waiting on, the extreme corruption and the kickbacks and the bribery and the election fraud and so much nasty business
compared to this.
Right, because this is what grabs the attention and the emotions of every person on earth. Transcends politics, race, gender, it doesn't matter.
Yep. Even
violent criminals. If you put pedos in the joint, they'll get killed. That's why they have to separate them out of the general population. This is so deeply emotional, so visceral. That's why this is the key. This unites humanity.
Right.
And Rachel Chandler is the key. Child handler.
Yep.
So, but that's Rachel. Look at the lovely stuff she posts. I suspect these two little girls are raised into the cult because they're just smiling and happy. They're doing a mock satanic ritual. Very similar to what Vicky Poland described on the Oprah Winfrey Show many years ago. They're raised into this stuff.
That's right.
So there she is, the little girl laying in the middle of a satanic pentagram, and the other little girl pretending she's going to cut her heart out with a dagger. Nice stuff, this Rachel Chandler, Bill Clinton's little friend.
Yep.
Okay.
And of course, this is all going to tie into the WikiLeaks stuff that is going to come out with the Russiagate investigation that's ongoing right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I think the whole thing is going to blow up pretty much at the same time. Assange, I happen to believe, is going to enter the stage in the not too distant future as well. I mean, think about some of the stuff that came out of the WikiLeaks email from Hillary. Nothing gets me more excited than sacrifice night.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally just, like you said, I mean, they were so arrogant. They bragged about it.
Can you imagine posting all that stuff? And surely they must have known of the capabilities of the NSA, but they figured, who cares? They can't do anything with it. It's non-actionable.
Yep, exactly.
Just to be a fly on the wall, to overhear some of the conversations taking place amongst these people when they realized Trump had a shot at winning, and then indeed he did win. I mean, we saw the reaction, the eruption that occurred. And it was something that even confused me because I didn't realize it at the time when Trump was first inaugurated. Okay, they didn't like Reagan either, but he never got this. There was something going on here. They were frightened.
That's right.
It was much more.
This is the issue. I mean, all the other stuff you can talk about all day long. It's not that it's not important. Yeah. But this is the one. This is their Achilles heel. Yeah. And they knew that Trump meant business, that he was going to expose all of this stuff, and that's why they went after him like that. It's not really about any of the other stuff. The election fraud is going to look like a misdemeanor in comparison to this. It's going to look like a parking ticket.
Yeah.
So when people have tried to make the argument, and look, I understand we've had multiple different conversations where we've speculated about, what's going to be the shot heard around the world, what's going to be the big event, that grabs everybody's attention. to a certain degree, there's a lot of credibility tied into exposing the vaccine, the so-called vaccine bioweapon depopulation agenda. That certainly affects everybody, and of course everybody who has kids. But this is at a whole nother level. I mean, this is raw satanic evil that most folks out there, the MAGA normies and the libtards alike, have absolutely no idea that this stuff even goes on. I mean, they can't even begin to comprehend this stuff. And even as anons, for people who, who voluntarily subjected ourselves to this information. I mean, you can remember, I'm sure you can recall the first time that you came across all this stuff, how deeply it disturbed you and affected you at a level that, nothing else compares. Nothing else compares to it. And, this is, I mean, it's super exciting to see, and we don't know how it's going to play out, but it's super exciting to see that the White Hats are maneuvering in this direction. And Marjorie Taylor Greene has been right at the forefront, pushing for this. So unbelievable. Unbelievable. What a day that's going to be, Mike, when that's finally out. My goodness. Oh, we got another one here.
Oh, there's so many of these. This is so sad. There's a couple of this boy. This one here, he's just covered by a towel. He's naked. And you just look at his face in this picture, and there's another image of him. He just looks like someone who's had his soul ripped out. This is Rachel Chandler stuff also.
Yep.
There's another boy who is emaciated. Okay. Not skinny. Someone who isn't being fed. That's on her Instagram as well. So this is really monstrous stuff. And the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene posted the name Rachel Chandler, someone who we were told watch the news for that name, and that'll be something when we hear her name, maybe in the New York Times or something.
Yeah, it's coming.
But it does seem that way, because why on earth would you go through this elaborate labyrinth process to get to the point now where the Congress is on the precipice of forcing the release of the Epstein files?
Yep.
The whole year we've been playing this game. Tedious, frustrating, tiresome as it is.
Yep.
I tell you what, they come out with it now. Can nobody say anything about Trump? It's the Democrats that forced it.
That's right.
And I suspect when they have the vote, it'll be unanimous Democrats and maybe like 10 Republicans or something, right? So it's like, oh, you guys wanted it, and here it is. Your boy Bill Clinton. So
you don't think they're going to try to filibuster it? That's what I anticipate. There's going to be a handful of them. Who knows? I don't know. But
but who would do that? Because the Democrats support it. It would be
I mean, Dick Durbin
is
that
Trump is giving the green light to the Republicans to do it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
and
because I think all the Democrats have lined up in favor of it, because that's the way they're playing it. That Trump is hiding something. So
we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah,
but I honestly don't think the whole filibuster thing is going to go away. And I've kind of speculated about this could add fuel to the fire in terms of Trump saying, okay, well, I gave you the green light. Most of the Democrats are behind this. They're the ones who are pushing it. Okay. But there's still a handful of people who seem like they have something to hide in the Senate.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But one thing we know about Trump is, I mean, if he keeps repeating the same thing over and over, just like, before the election, remember he was talking about tariffs. It's all he was talking about. He's going on all these interviews talking about tariffs. And now, of course, we realize why. And now his new thing that he keeps hitting over and over is the filibuster. We got to get rid of the filibuster. So, we'll see how the optics play out on that front. But it's going to be a wild ride as all this stuff comes out. Absolutely amazing. All right, so let's go ahead and keep rolling here into our second piece. This is, of course, also tied into Israel. Seems like just about everything we talk about roads lead back to the Zionists. So this is Troll King Trump trying to save Bibi. Take it away.
Yeah, well, here's another example of the manipulation in the games, the trolling. Only this one is kind of in reverse. Where the other case we just talked, he's against Margie all of a sudden, and here he's for Bibi. But you have to just flip it.
Right.
Okay. So he wrote yet another letter. Well, he gave a speech. He's made utterances now. He has written a letter to the Israeli president I think his name is Herzog, asking him to pardon Bibi Netanyahu. Okay. There it is. Trump asked Israeli president to pardon Netanyahu in a letter. Bibi Netanyahu, I am convinced, has already met the same fate as Joe Biden. That's not him. That's him in a mask. Israel totally under control. So it's Bibi's image that has to be killed now, not him.
Yep.
And by appearances, it seems as though Trump is trying to save him. Once again, the smokescreen to conceal the fact that he's actually out to destroy him. Having already executed him, now we need to kill his image. That's what's really happening. And so with everything we see here, when Trump engages in his maneuvers, you have to just do an inversion and then ask yourself why, and it all becomes clear. So let's clarify this latest stunt as well. Next panel. Okay.
I actually have the video of this, Mike, if you want to watch it, but I'm going to set this up.
Yeah, that would actually be more powerful because she's really screaming. She's an Israeli white hat, and she is just berating Bibi Netanyahu right to his face over the issue of 10/7, Hamas, and other issues. So let's listen here and follow the subtitles.
גם אם אתה ישן עם מצפון נקי, לא נשכח לך. אני מאשימה אותך, בנימין נתניהו. מאשימה אותך בטבח 7 באוקטובר. האסון הגדול ביותר שידעה המדינה קרה במשמרתך. גם אם אתה ישן עם מצפון נקי, לא נשכח לך. נזעק את ההפקרה, תקום ועדת חקירה ממלכתית. אני מאשימה אותך, בנימין נתניהו, במימון החמאס. בבניית הטרור ועצימת העיניים האיום הקיומי עלינו, בהפקרת ביטחון המדינה כמדיניות. ביטחון הוא לא אינסטרומנט פוליטי, שמעת? הוא מעל הכל. גם אם אתה ישן עם מצפון נקי, לא נשכח לך. אני מאשימה אותך.
All right, it just started over, but yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yep.
So she's ripping him, essentially accusing him of 10/7. She doesn't say false flag, but she says extreme negligence. You funded Hamas. Okay, you used everything for your political purposes, and they're going to investigate. And he's just sitting here taking this abuse. Now, this is an impossibility. Okay, this type of stuff is not broadcast to the world. Even if they had disagreements amongst themselves legitimately, you don't air out the dirty laundry, especially Israel.
That's right.
Okay, so this is totally. And this is where Trump was putting on his act. This could be a studio somewhere in Wyoming, for all we know.
And look at him sitting there all casual, just listening.
Yeah, just taking this vicious abuse that's going to go viral.
Yeah.
That's not real, and he's not real. He's already dead. Yeah. But listen, I accuse you, Benjamin Netanyahu, of the massacre of October 7th. A state commission of inquiry will be established. I accuse you of funding Hamas, of building the terrorism, of closing your eyes. So she's right at the precipice of saying you orchestrated the false flag of 10/7, which is a fake event, we all know. But for purposes of the movie, it seems that's where they're going with this, that they're going to hang 10/7 around his neck. Yeah. And like I always say, 10/7 leads right to 9/11, because if he's guilty of a false flag, murdering his own people, and allowing his own people to be kidnapped, and what else could this network have done?
Right.
So this is again a very positive indicator. You remember we did a show. I was a little bit concerned. Gee, I hope they just don't transition to a happy, peaceful Middle East, and that's the end of it. No, not with this stuff going on.
Yeah, when we went through those multiple different scenarios. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And you know, Trump's letter, that's just a joke. That's just but what it does is it keeps his hands clean. It's like, I'm trying to save the guy. Oh, he did that? I didn't know.
Yep. That's what he does, and he does it so brilliantly on so many different fronts. Yeah. He disavows people. He actually even recently, I don't know if you saw the clip, but somebody asked him about Tucker Carlson interviewing Nick Fuentes. And he was like, oh, well, you know, I don't really know much about Nick Fuentes, but, you know, if he wants to go on Tucker, he said something along the lines of get the word out. People need to decide for themselves.
Yeah.
And of course, Fuentes, whether you love him or you hate him, I mean, the reality of the matter is he's one of the most talked about figures in America right now, specifically on this issue about Israel. Yeah. So, and that's what he does. He allows his proxies to attack in the areas where it would be counterproductive for Trump to come out and say these things. So he has other people say them, but he creates that distance, that camouflage.
That's right. I call it the Barzini effect from Godfather 1. Barzini is the mobster who's orchestrating a war against the Corleone family, but he's using the Tatalias to do it.
That's right.
Meanwhile, he just sits back like the adult in the room, and ultimately he then brokers the peace when he was the one engineered the war.
Yep.
So that's what he's doing.
Yep.
So,
and since I mentioned him really quickly, what is your opinion of Fuentes?
I just did a piece on him. It's going out tonight.
Oh, you did? Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say this. To me, he was an enigma for the longest time. Now I am convinced he's part of the operation.
I agree.
There's no question. Yeah.
I totally agree. He's part of it.
It is already published, but it's going out in the bulk mail tonight.
Beautiful. All right. All right. Well, maybe we can talk about it in a little more detail next week. But yeah.
But there he goes again. I don't know too much about him.
Yeah, sure you don't.
I don't know too much about Q.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and the other thing that occurred to me as we were talking about this is in the last piece we were talking about at least my opinion that the White Hats, Trump, they're going to have to come clean to a certain extent about the delays on the Epstein files.
Yeah.
But I certainly don't believe, and I mentioned they're not going to tell the truth about everything. I don't think it's ever going to come out that 10/7 was actually a fake false flag. In the same way, I don't think it's ever going to come out that Gaza was a wag the dog war. I mean, I think
that'll be left for people to know. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And by the way, Marjorie Taylor Greene has also been very aggressive on this front too. And seemingly, if you don't know what's going on, it seems like two different issues that have become her pet causes. One is attacking Israel, and the other one is trying to force Trump to release the Epstein files.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, as we all know, they're totally related.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just interesting to see how the two storylines are playing concurrently. And I believe, the East River and the Hudson River, they meet at the tip of Manhattan to form a bay.
Yeah.
I think ultimately that's where we might be going with this.
Yeah, what was that third movie that Q said was going to be playing concurrently with the other ones? It was FISA-gate was the first one.
Yeah.
And then Panic in DC, and then Guardians of the Pedophiles. And here we are. Well, if you look at that, sometimes I think about that in terms of the theory of the way that this operation is playing out in terms of like a 3-act drama. The first act was, Trump's first term, FISA-gate, the Russia collusion, all that stuff. And then, his second term, which of course was fake Biden, was Panic in DC because they were all being rounded up after January 6th. And now here we are in the third act. And the main issue, once again, Israel and Epstein, guardians of the pedophiles. So yet another Q proof.
And, this is an interesting column. That headline is actually from a couple years ago. So this is Netanyahu himself, or this character playing Netanyahu, telling us. Here's the headline. Netanyahu blasts Western nations for backing Palestine. Compares October 7th to 9/11 in fiery speech.
There you go.
The column there is that October 7th will lead to 9/11 exposure. So it seems to me. I don't see how it could not. Because 10/7 is so huge. If you hang that around Netanyahu's neck and the Mossad, it's just the most basic, logical, sequential inference that even a normie could take. Right? What else could they have pulled off? So,
and all they have to do is dredge up all the stuff that Netanyahu said publicly, both before and after 9/11, forecasting the event, and then after it happened, essentially celebrating it as a good thing for Israel.
And what that white hat woman was just saying is that you funded Hamas. So okay, Hamas works for Mossad, is what she's saying.
That's right, of course. Yeah.
So let's see where that goes. But that was fake again. So it's good to review this stuff. Let's not get caught up in the so-called genocide in Gaza, because if the Hamas raid was fake, the rest of it was fake. And remember, they came in with the little backpacks.
That picture gets me every time.
The little power gliders and the most secure border in the world.
Yep.
Even Mike Flynn was pointing that out. That's the most secure border in the world. How did that happen?
That's right.
So that's it. We're waiting for 10/7 to unravel. So come on, Israel. Israeli white hats. Who knows if she's even Israeli? They could have dubbed in the Hebrew language. Yeah. We have no way of knowing.
But well, there's definitely white hats in Israel. I mean, if our theory is correct, and I do believe it is, that the whole Zionist government has been taken care of. Netanyahu's gone, et cetera, et cetera. It would only be logical that in this worldwide operation that there'd be white hats in Israel. And I still maintain that is the best way optically to bring down the shitty little state.
Yeah.
The optics of having a bunch of, a coalition of nations attacking Israel, all that would feed into the narrative that, Israel has to protect itself and they have to fight back and all of these types. They're not going to do it that way. They're not going to forcibly remove him militarily. They're not going to create the optics of that. Yeah. They're going to have it come from within. They've been forecasting it for such a long time now. I don't know if you've seen any of these montages, Mike, of all of the, and again, it's all acting, we know, but all of these soldiers from 10/7 who are telling the same story about how they were told to stand down.
Right.
And they have, it's been on all these different podcasts. They've gone through it in granular detail. And I've lost track of how many interviews I've actually seen bits and pieces of where all these IDF soldiers are telling the same story and demanding answers to what happened. So, and then you've got the protests, you've got this speech inside the Knesset, you've got all this stuff going on. To me, it seems pretty logical, pretty obvious that, how exactly they're going to do it on what timeline, we don't know, but this is going to be an internal takedown.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain.
Yeah. There's no reason to script this stand down and all these soldiers saying there was a stand down. Why would you script it if it's not going to have a purpose?
That's right.
Everything has to have a purpose. So,
and it also removes the whole, anti-Semitic thing, we're just going after the Jews. We want to attack Israel. It's
that's right. They're going to have to be the ones to expose the 10/7. And Trump said about that general when he was in the Knesset, I forget his name. He says, "Look at him. He's central casting."
Central casting. Yep, I know. We watched that video. I remember. Yeah.
And this parliamentarian, she also said, Trump returned the hostages in your place. She got a twofer there. She's giving a pump to Trump. He did this. You didn't do nothing. He freed the hostages. There were no hostages, but that's okay. Trump returned the hostages while you shamelessly were harnessing him for a pardon.
Yep.
So this is good. Trump looks magnanimous and gracious. But the crimes are going to be so severe, the Israelis aren't going to be able to bury them.
Yep.
So that's a tale of two trolls we covered tonight.
That's right.
One, he's making believe he's against someone, and the other one, he's making believe he's in favor of someone.
Yep. Yeah, and for those folks who may have slipped back into the movie, you might want to go back and re-listen again, take a few notes. So the next time that this happens, inevitably, it's going to happen again. You'll be able to pump the brakes before you fall off the wagon there. No shame in that, folks. We're not criticizing anybody, but it's like Mike said, that's why we're here. That's why people tune in, so they can get clarity on all this stuff. All right. So I think we had one more. There was one more slide here. Oh, okay. That's actually for the next piece.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and take that down, and we are going to talk a little bit as we do every week about Mike's website, realnewsandhistory.com. We're going to explore some of his books, tell you how you can support him. And Mike's going to talk for a couple of minutes about his mission and what he does, what he offers, the unique perspective and ability to connect the history with everything that's playing out in the news. So, Mike, why don't you take a couple minutes and inform folks about your website. And I'll just remind you, we keep getting more and more people on the channel every single week. We have a few hundred more people out there who maybe have never heard your name before, don't know anything about what you do. So lay it out for folks.
Okay, well, you've got to go to realnewsandhistory.com. where the motto is fake history is the fake news that has passed into the rearview mirror. And that's what I do is I link history with the news. So you have so much better understanding of the modern world once you know where we came from. But I don't bore you like conventional history books. My stuff is very clear. It's concise. It's riveting. Most of all, it's factual and true. If you never thought you would enjoy history before, you will, because when it's explained properly, it's like an action, suspense, mystery story all in one. And that's what I do. So the site is very user-friendly. Bookmark realnewsandhistory.com. Ton of free stuff. If you want to go further into the history and get my books and booklets, there's 34 in all, which I've written over the course of the past 15 years. You click right there where it says Mike King University. For $29, you get all 34 books in PDF format. It's a real steal.
Yep.
If you're old school, you want a physical book in hand, it's a little more expensive, of course, but most of my books you'll find at my Amazon page, which is the second leg of my operation here. And you can just go to Amazon. My author page is Mike S. King. And you'll see all my books. A lot of them are Kindle or Kindle only, but you'll find most of them there. Not all of them. There's a couple that are too hot to handle, which we're going to talk about shortly.
Yep.
But you want to, if you're new to this stuff, you want to start with those center 3 books there. Those 3 right there. Crash Course NWO, The Secret Plan to Save Humanity, and 9/11 Crash Course Inside Job. 9/11 is still very important. It's a great hook for people if you want to introduce normies to the truth. That all of these can be read in 1 hour, large print, tons of pictures. Once you see that what a fraud 9/11 does, and I make that up very clear in that booklet, then you're going to want to know more about the perps who did that. And you go to Crash Course NWO. And then what I like to call the happy ending is The Secret Plan to Save Humanity, a summary of the Q operation and the rise of Commander Trump. It was the Q operation that went out and recruited Trump for this task. And, you know, this is aged very well. The more you read it, and then the more you see current events, you see we're heading right on that trajectory you talked about. Yep. So let's hope these things happen relatively soon. We've all waited a long time. We want to see 10/7 come out of Israel, Epstein files come out of the Justice Department. And from there on in, it should be downhill in terms of public awakening.
I agree. I think it's going to be a wild ride from now, basically all the way up to probably the midterms. I think that's personally, again, not to set any expectations. I'm just giving you my perspective on things. You know, the reality is that I mean, you can only imagine. Let's just put it this way: you can only imagine what the second 2 years of Trump's presidency is going to look like if we go through the midterms and we're still kind of in this holding pattern. This stuff hasn't happened and materialized. And I mean, I mentioned the filibuster as well. I'm actually going to be doing a show. I put it together today. It's been a long time since I've done a solo show, but talking about the filibuster, I'm going to probably record it on Wednesday, hopefully. But this is really key. I think that we have to see some major things happen by the midterms in order for the rest of this presidency to not really appear on the surface anyway, to be kind of a lame duck sort of a situation where, he's getting stalled on all these different fronts. Yeah. Justice is continually being denied. I mean, there's always the possibility that, they could just take us down that very dark path where everything gets blocked and the public is raging and screaming and things are getting more and more chaotic. And then we have a false flag or two and it forces the military to come forward. But I really don't see that happening. I think that eventually we're going to get to military jurisdiction, as I've said all along. But I do believe that all of the positioning that we're seeing right now is going to lead to the dominoes falling in the not too distant future. That's just my opinion. But like you said, let's hope we're correct on that. But yeah, this trifecta right here, for those of you folks who are new to Mike King's work, I mean, this pretty much, I mean, there's an enormous amount of history. He's written 34 books, obviously, and countless other articles. But this is really the core of what folks need to understand. It gives you the background, the history of Crash Course New World Order. It gives you the basic framework of the cabal and understanding the problem in essence. You mentioned 9/11 as the hook, of course, because pretty much anyone who's alive right now and even remotely paying attention to what's going on in the world has a memory of 9/11. And that's a great hook. And then finally the happy ending. But definitely pick these books up. And whether you're new to the channel or whether you've been watching Mike and I for months now, these are three that you definitely have to have on your coffee table in your collection. And Mike does it better than anybody else out there. I can testify to that. You read his books, and I say it every week. He has an uncanny ability to make the information accessible and to make it stick, to make it exciting, and also to be very concise in terms of how the information is presented. It truly is a good
that's the key. We want concise. We want stuff. I design all of my work to be weapons that you could use in the information war. And look at those reviews, all 5-star, almost 600, 700, 381.
Yep.
These are life-changing. Okay, so that's the physical books. The Amazon page again was Mike S. King. The website is realnewsandhistory.com. And then finally, my latest project, which is growing rapidly and people are loving, and I wish I had started it earlier, is my Rumble channel.
Oh, you passed over 20. Congratulations.
I passed over. I'm almost at 21.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Mike. Real simple. Just find me at Mike King, and these are basically 20 to 30-minute videos. I've got a series there. If you go to the account page, you hit playlists. You can see my series. It's going to have like 40 to 45 episodes when I'm done. I just completed episode number 29. I'm going through all the decades, going back 250 years, even more. I'm going in sequence. You're going to learn so much, and you'll be binge watching these videos. So please follow me on Rumble. Just don't watch the videos. Make sure you join Rumble. It's free. It only takes a minute, and then you click the follow button. The more followers I get, the more the algorithms work, and the more new people come on board. Because what I'm discovering is that there's two huge markets out there. There's people who like to read but don't really want videos, and there's people like videos don't really like to read, and then there's some overlap, of course. So this is opening up a whole new world for this sort of information, which is very, very unique. It puts together the history and the news, and nobody does it in a manner that's so clear and concise that you get it. This stuff should not be complicated. I'm just telling a story. That's what I'm doing, but it's a true story, you see. So that's the Rumble page. So follow me on Rumble, check out my books, and support my work, because without your support, I can't do this and dig out some of these amazing facts, both from the contemporary times as well as the history.
Yep. Yeah, definitely bookmark Mike's website here. Again, you can navigate the page very easily on the top. All his books and PDFs. And then, of course, his World War II books. Mike, do you want to talk about those? Because we always...
Well, that's what we're going to get into tonight. But these are too hot to handle for Amazon. Bad War was on Amazon, and it was blown up really well. And then they killed it in early 2017. The ADL, they were keeping lists at that time of politically incorrect books, and this was on the list. But you can still get the Bad War at realnewsandhistory.com. The PDF version is part of the package. But if you go to where it says WW2, you get the physical book. These are nice looking books, 8.5 by 11, full color cover. So you could also get it this way. But these are life changing, because I always say World War II is the foundational mythology that defines the modern world. Everything was built upon the ruins of World War II. We have to correct it because it's one big lie. And you'll be amazed at how much clearer the world as we know it today, or as we think we know it, comes into focus. Okay. So that's like another unique thing. There's people who do World War II revision, but they have no idea what Q is, and then vice versa. I linked the two together. It's really wild. You could read Mein Kampf and read the Q posts, and you could say they actually see for yourself. They say the same thing, and they're fighting the same enemy. Mm-hmm. Think about it.
Yep. Well, I mean, Mike warned me. He said, when you read these books, this is like the ultimate red pill. And I understand why now. I mean, I had a basic idea of what he meant by that. But when I started to read it, it really clicked that we have been so brainwashed. Yeah. And this is going to be a nice segue into the history segment tonight. But we have been so brainwashed about Hitler and the Nazis, and specifically the Holocaust.
Yeah.
That programming runs so deep. And I have to admit, I mean, when I first started working with Mike, for a while, I didn't really want to go there. I mean, I wanted to pick his brain on a lot of different issues. There was part of me that wasn't sure that my audience wanted, this type of content. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to explore all of it. But as time has gone on and I've gotten to know Mike and certainly been wildly impressed with his research and come to respect him so much, I finally just decided, all right, it's time. It's time for me to actually to go back and take another look at Hitler and the Nazis and open up my mind to it. So that's really what we're going to do tonight. And specifically the piece that Mike is going to go through is an excerpt from the second book down that you see. This is the accompanying piece to The Bad War. They kind of go together. The Song That Never Ends. And as you can see, the official story of the Holocaust does not stand up to even the most basic logical scrutiny. So with that as a kind of a teaser, Mike, why don't we go ahead and dive in here?
Yeah.
The article that we're going to read is we're actually going to work directly off the website. I assume that folks can access this article for free if you want to go take a look at it. But Mike's going to take us through, as I indicated at the top of the show tonight, that and this is especially powerful, just like we talk about in multiple different contexts. We were just mentioning, the takedown of the Zionists and Netanyahu coming from within Israel, coming from the Jews themselves.
Yeah.
This is an example of Jewish scholars who have actually pointed out the fact, as you can see, there's no hard evidence of the Holocaust. So strap in, folks. If you haven't heard this information before, you're in for quite an awakening. So, all right, take it away.
Well, I wrote this book, The Song That Never Ends. I did The Bad War, and I only have like 4 or 5 pages dealing with the so-called Holocaust in The Bad War. And a lot of people respond, well, it's good information. Hitler did a lot of good things for Germany, and the war could have been avoided. However, what about the Holocaust? So I figured I'd do a whole book on the subject. And I'm by no means the first one to write a book debunking the Holocaust, but again, my unique niche, clear, concise, lots of pictures, get right to the point, just present it in such a way that is very engaging to the reader. So I wrote The Song That Never Ends. And you see a couple of violinists there on top of Auschwitz in the clouds, playing the violins as the cash rains down, because it's a big moneymaker. I mean, the main objective with the Holocaust is is geopolitical, it's historical. Okay, they have to always justify World War II. It was also used as a very strong pretext for establishing Israel as a nation. Okay, and it also is projection. It deflects from the mass murder of millions, countless millions of German civilians during the war and after the war.
Yep.
All right. So it's
by
got
both the Russians and Eisenhower. I think we actually talked about that last week, the open air concentration camps.
Yep.
I mean, and everybody knows the story about, the internment of the Japanese here in America, but people always, they say, well, they were interned and that was a bad thing, but, they weren't exterminated, like the Germans did. And this really is, quite honestly, I think that, even the conversation about Hitler, you can have that conversation and you can point out, well, he outlawed usury and the people loved him and he brought back the economy and he cleaned up Germany and all these things. And some people might be receptive to that at a certain level. But like you indicated, when the conversation comes up about the Holocaust, that programming runs so deep that it's a deal breaker. I mean, you can't get people to move beyond that because the story has been, we were all indoctrinated at such a young age. I remember being in school and having to watch, what was it called? It was a whole documentary. I can't remember the name of it. It's a famous documentary that they did about the Holocaust. And I remember just sitting there in 5th grade, 6th grade, and just being absolutely horrified at what I saw. And you don't even realize until you become an adult and, these types of ideas kind of get floated in front of you, how deeply that programming has affected you. And even Mike has talked about in the past, when he first started to get red pilled and somebody started sending him copies or translations of Hitler's speeches. It was like, he was almost like looking over his head and thinking he was doing something wrong. And this is the guy who's written a book about it. So this is a very important subject. And again, I think the fact that this particular piece is coming from Jews themselves, speaks volumes about the credibility of this information. So, all right,
and this subject has very important contemporary applications, or debunking the subject does, because historically, the Kabbalah is always hid behind this. The moment you talk about Rothschild or Soros, anti-Semitism, Holocaust, Nazis.
Yep.
So it's a defensive.
That's why the anti-Semitism label has always been so powerful.
That's right.
Not just because of Hitler, but because of the Holocaust. That's really
That's right. That's their defense shield. And if you tear that down, it's like knocking down the front doors of a fortified castle. Okay. But I should clarify that these two Jewish scholars that I'm going to quote from, they're both Holocaust scholars. So they don't deny the Holocaust. They made their living promoting it, writing books. They're considered experts on the subject. However, they did have to concede there's no hard evidence to support what they say.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's an important distinction.
So I wanted to make that clear. So they just say, yeah, but there's so much overpowering circumstantial of it. No, okay, fine. We'll deal with that later. And I deal with that in my book as well. But as far as hard evidence of the gas chambers, the 6 there's many of them. I'm just quoting 2 here. If you press them on the issue, they will concede, yes, there is no forensic evidence. Yes, there is no documented evidence. Oh, then what do you got? What are your receipts? Well, we know that nobody questions that the camps existed. It was a temporary wartime security precaution. They can't answer that. Instead, they throw you in jail. That's why there's laws in 17 different countries. People have gone to jail for saying what I'm about to say to you here tonight, which is why I won't be visiting Europe anytime soon.
They probably have warrants out for you, Mike.
Yeah.
Honestly, but and I think quoting from the beginning of your book, you said something along the lines of, the truth does not require laws in order to protect it.
It's absurd.
And that in and of itself, I think, should cause people, even if you're skeptical on this subject before we dive in here, that should cause you to be skeptical anyway. Like, why would they need, if this was so true and it was so obvious and the evidence was out there and it was insurmountable and nobody should even question it, why would you need to pass a law to prevent people from actually exploring the history forensically and looking at it and trying to, to connect the dots and prove that it actually did occur the way that we were told, if it's the truth?
That's right.
It kind of
a very simple matter just to humiliate these people and show them as fools. They don't do that. And in America, they don't have laws. However, you can apply pressure to book publishers, for example, to not publish this stuff. Or you could fire professors and things like that.
I mean, is there anything else in the world, Mike, that you're aware of that could actually land you, like a thought crime that could actually put you in prison?
No, think about it. You can say, I think Stalin was a great guy. I think the Gulag Archipelago was bullshit. Nobody bother you. Right. I don't think Mao killed anybody.
Yeah, you can say any of that stuff anywhere in the world, right?
That's it. Yeah.
But not this. That should tell you something.
Interesting.
Whether you're persuaded or not, and again, we haven't even gotten into it, but even if you're skeptical and even if you're not fully persuaded at the end of Mike's presentation here, it should at least give you pause and ask yourself that question and come up with a logical answer. Why is this such a hotbed issue that they needed to pass laws to prevent people from actually speaking about it? So with that, go ahead.
Yep. Well, I'm only giving you a morsel here, a little bit of food for thought. And hopefully you'll all want to read the book or the PDF that's part of the package. So we're going to work right off the website because it's kind of a brief piece. Let's scroll down a little bit.
Yes, sir.
And I wrote here, the slightest suggestion that there is neither documentary nor forensic evidence to support the Holocaust can land one in prison in over a dozen different countries. And yet the fact remains, there is neither documentary nor forensic evidence to support the related fairy tales of the 6 million and Z gas chambers. That's a fact. There is no documented evidence and no forensic evidence. And I'm going to show you how these Jewish historians who are Holocaust scholars, quote unquote, had to admit this. Okay. That's known as testimony against interest. In one case, it actually came out in a court testimony. So don't take Big Bad Mike King's word for it. Hear it from two Jewish giants of the phony academic field of Holocaust studies. It's not that these two con artists, Hilberg and Ryback, ever had second thoughts about promoting and profiting from what I call Holocaustianity. Of course not. No, it was circumstances forced by brave deniers which induced them into limited hangout. So that's what happened. Because of the work of some of these early revisionists who paid a very dear price for their work, but, as this work began to circulate, and as some of them were put on trial, which was kind of, in retrospect, a tactical mistake, because even though these individuals got railroaded, enough stuff came out at the trials, you see, but so it was because of these people that they were forced to do limited hangout. But limited hangouts can still be very dangerous. So when you say, okay, there's no actual hard documentation, but it still happened. Okay, stop. You just said there's no hard documentation. Thank you very much. You say. So that's what happened here.
Yep.
These dual
more scrutiny.
Yeah.
By doing that limited hangout. Yeah.
They're hoping to, they have to admit it. And then they transition to, let's move along, nothing to see here. That doesn't work with me. No. There's just no moving along. You just said yourself, no documentation, no forensic evidence. People are in jail for saying that, and you just admitted it. So let's keep pulling on this loose thread. But for our purposes here, we're just going to stick with that. Documentation and forensic. There's neither. That's a fact. They say it if you don't want to believe it from me.
And that's one of the primary things that they tell you, that they, when you're learning about the Holocaust, it's, the Nazis kept these extensive records about, I remember hearing about that that was one of the things they did brilliantly well, was they kept extensive records of everything that occurred inside of the camps and who they killed and how they killed them, and on and on and on. And then you're confronted with this and you're like, well, wait a minute. What? You're telling me all that was a lie, that they actually didn't keep any records of it?
Yeah.
And here you have it.
I tell you what oftentimes the biggest lies are preceded by the prefix. It has been documented that, fill in the blank, or scientific studies show. You got to be very careful, because that's a rhetorical trick when people say something has been thoroughly documented. Okay, can I see it? Mm-hmm. People, oftentimes what happens is the mind shuts down. If they hear that something was documented, they assume, it's documented. Okay. Just like a footnote in a book. People automatically assume that if there's that little note, that little number at the end of a sentence, and there's a number in the back, okay, he's got a receipt. Not necessarily. Okay. You'll be amazed. A lot of times it's not a receipt. It's just a circle jerk. You're just repeating a claim that somebody else got from somebody else, who got from somebody else, and you never get to the original source. But yeah, I remember hearing that forever. It's thoroughly well documented. The Germans documented everything. Actually, they did document. There is documentation that they had, that the Red Cross accepted, that there was a total death toll throughout the war in the camps was 270,000, mainly through attrition, and there were also some disease epidemics. Mm-hmm. So that's real documentation, but that they don't want to accept.
Yeah, and you should, if you go and you type it into like Grok or something like that, and you start to explore those claims, because I did that, and I'm actually, I'm reading this book right now. I'm like in the middle of it. It's amazing how they do all types of spin jobs to hide the actual truth. It's like the more specific the question you ask Grok, the more convoluted the response becomes. It's still wired into the system. You try to get down to the bottom of it. Like, well, if the Red Cross, if the Germans reported to the Red Cross that 270,000 people were killed, is that accurate? And if Grok will say, well, yeah, it's accurate, but it didn't take into account this, and it didn't.
That,
and,
right.
and it kind of like it gaslights you in a million different ways.
Yeah, AI is sort of like Wikipedia.
Oh, it draws upon all the
There's
information.
a lot of good stuff you can draw out of Wikipedia, but you got to be careful and discerning. If you want stats like on, I don't know, life expectancy in Paraguay, well, Grok will give you the right answer. Okay. But if there's any degree of vulnerability to subjectivity, be careful with that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what I mean.
But now these are some of the pioneers I talk about. We owe these people a debt of gratitude. I don't know if people are still going to prison now, but certainly the stigma is wearing off, and people are beginning to talk more and more about World War II, what really happened, and that's part of Q operation as well. I am convinced this is stuff that's coming out. Mm-hmm. The first image there, that is he's a Canadian German, Ernst Rundle. He was arrested in Canada and he was put on trial, the Zundel trial. This would have been in the 90s. This was a big deal. And he fought back and he got attorneys. He raised money. And even though he ultimately got railroaded, so much stuff came out at trial. Okay. He even brought a witness there. Was a Ukrainian Jew who was in Auschwitz. And he says, yeah, none of that stuff went out. And the guy was later ostracized from the Jewish community. Stuff like that. But they were not anticipating this. There was so much data that was introduced at that trial that it further supported so-called Holocaust denial. So even though he would lose. And ultimately he moved to Tennessee. And somehow they got him extradited, and he ended up in jail in Canada on some trumped-up charges. He suffered immensely. Ernst Zundel. The second image, that's the British historian, David Irving, immensely respected as an authority on all the principal players, like a biographer almost of World War II. He wrote the book on Dresden, the firebombing of Dresden, that horror story, all those hundreds of thousands of Germans burned alive and suffocated. He wrote books on Churchill based on he's Mr. Receipts. Because back when he was a respected historian, his deal was he would go into the archives. He was given access to British archives, German archives. He's fluent in German. He would track down the widows of important people from that day, just to get the papers and letters of their husbands. Original source historian, immensely respected, the kind of guy who could go around to colleges, give speeches. Well, when he started questioning Auschwitz, his career took a different turn, and he became a pariah. He's still alive now. He's older. And people would show up at his speeches, throw things at him, death threats, rocks were thrown through the window of his home. He was terrorized. Finally, he was visiting Austria, and they nabbed him in Austria, and he did jail time because they have Holocaust denial laws in Austria. The so-called crime was not committed in Austria. It was committed in Great Britain, but they nailed him in Austria. So he did jail time. David Irving. The third image there, that's Ursula Haverbeck. Look at that dangerous woman. 90 years old. She starts writing about, and she was actually writing letters to German government agencies. She also said, I want to find out where these 6 million were killed and how you came up with the numbers. Nobody could give her answers. So they finally arrested her. They call it the Nazi grandma. And she's in and out of prison. She refused to relent. Sweet old lady. I've seen videos of her. Charming, funny. And she doesn't care. She's in and out of jail. She died, I think, last year.
Wow.
Okay, Ursula Haverbeck. They hounded this woman. And you can read what she's written. There's no hatred in it. She's like, I just want answers. Just for asking questions in Germany, they put you in jail.
And it's still that way today, right? They still have those laws. Are on the books.
They're on the books. Germany is the worst because they had to rub their nose in their own dog poo. Okay, that's what the Allies did for 70 years. A lot of people in Germany. I put her because to me this is the most egregious because she's in her 90s. And then finally, this woman is a reader of mine. I've communicated with her often. Loves my work. Such a dear woman. Monica Schaefer, German Canadian, also Canadian. She's a violinist. She put out a YouTube video, I want to say like 15 years ago, maybe more. She's playing the violin a little bit, and then she stops and she's explaining, she's doing this video. She wants to apologize to her mother. Her mother had been deceased for some time. Because growing up, she would always confront her mother. How did your generation let that happen? Killed all those. Her mother was German, and the mother's like, we didn't know. And she was just raised your typical guilt-ridden German child, right? Mm-hmm. And she tells a story, sometimes being teased at school because she was German. She'd be called a Nazi, and she's in school like in the 60s and 70s, and it's interesting. I had some German friends too, or of German descent, and whenever we would get into a spat, first thing would come out of our mouth, "You effing Nazi!" It's terrible. Yeah. It's terrible. And she talks about that, but then she came to be, started questioning the whole hoax, and sees what a hoax and a lie it was. So she made this video. It's an apology, an open apology to her mother on the video for having always like condemned her and her generation for what they did. And for this horrible crime, when she visited her brother in Germany, they knew she was coming. They nabbed her. They put her in a German prison. Her brother comes to her defense. They put him in prison. Alfred and Monica Schaefer, they each did several years in a German prison.
So they don't even care about jurisdiction. They just
no, you set foot in their country, and they got a record of what you said and did. I guess they figure, well, internet is international, right? You're committing crimes across line, right? Something like that. Such a sweet lady. You got to see videos of her, just like Ursula. Just so sweet, so gentle, so quintessentially German. You can just see them baking strudel or something and hosting you in your home. It's lovable people.
Did she do time in prison? I don't know. Maybe you
mentioned. Yeah. She did a few years in a German prison, and as did her brother, whose only crime was coming to her defense. And there's even been cases where attorneys defending their clients in Germany, they'll put them in prison if they say the wrong thing.
Wow.
Because you are not permitted to question the legitimacy of the Holocaust. That's what gets these people in trouble. Your defense has to be something else.
That's incredible.
You could say, oh, I had a moment of insanity, forgive me, something like that. But you can't go in there and say, look, this is the truth. No, they don't care. The law is you can't question it. So
and again, I speaking of questions, I mean, I pose that question to anybody out there in the audience. I mean, put it in the comments, put it in the chat. Is there any other thought crime that could literally land you in prison just for asking questions? Does that exist anywhere else in the world that you know of or have heard about? And Mike is a historian, and he doesn't have any other examples. So, I challenge folks out there to to give us your thoughts on that. And, I'm also curious before we move on, you mentioned in the case of the first one, this guy, that he had a Ukrainian Jew come to his defense, somebody who was actually a survivor of Auschwitz. That's pretty remarkable. Have there, to your knowledge, have there been other supposed, I guess you could say, other survivors of the who are Jewish?
They're in my book, and there's video testimony. This guy's, we were playing soccer, and one time the German guard got drunk, and he got in the game, and we played with them. This is like late 1944 in Auschwitz. So there's multiple videos of this. It's interesting. Years ago, Spielberg funded some project, and this is when there were like still many survivors around, and they would take their testimonies. And there were people say, we heard of a gas chamber, but nobody said they saw a gas chamber. But there were a bunch of testimonies of people describing life in Auschwitz. And one of we put on a play for the children. There was another guy, SS guy, a guard in one of the camps.
And Spielberg actually put that information out? I'm shocked.
Yeah, but it's not public. It's just like you have to look for it. It's just part of like an archive. But people were generally talking about their experiences, but they all survived, obviously. But there's a number of them. I'll round them up and send them to you. The guys speak about the soccer leagues. They had soccer leagues in Auschwitz. That was real big for the prisoners. They would play soccer, swimming pools, orchestra, activities for the children. There's a case of a Jewish woman fell in love with a German SS guard. They had a thing going on. And many years later, this guard got, because they would hunt you down if you were SS. And even in your 90s, they put you on trial. And they put this fellow on trial like maybe 10 years ago. His name was Oscar Gruning. And what saved him is they managed to dig up this woman and say, yeah, we were in love. He was such a nice man, blah, blah, blah. This is in Auschwitz. So, people were getting married in Auschwitz. All the receipts.
By the way, Auschwitz is where they say that over 1 million of the supposed 6 million were killed, correct?
It was originally 4 million. And then when the revisionists started asking questions, they got nervous. They chopped it down to 1.5, and now it's 1.1 million. So they just took 3 million off the total, but they still say 6 million. So 6 million minus 3 million equals 6 million. That's relativity math, right? It's when you get into it, it's so bad. I compare it to 9/11, the official story of 9/11, or COVID, or pick your favorite hoax. You know, it's got this facade to it. It's given the authority by the media, by academia, by Hollywood, and everyone sees it as this unassailable edifice, right? You start scratching on it, it falls apart. It's just an empty facade. It's so bad. You got to read my book.
No, yeah, I'm into it right now. I'm
yeah.
It with other things, but I ask these questions primarily on behalf of the audience. Even if I
no, they were having a good old time in Auschwitz. There was documentation of a typhus outbreak in 42. Whenever you have people kind of in close quarters, particularly in Auschwitz, because it's in a marshy, mosquito-y part of Poland. I mean, when Napoleon was retreating through Poland from Russia 200 years ago, they know now that it wasn't the cold, that it wasn't the Russians that decimated his army. It was typhus. They have forensic evidence of that. So it's always been a big problem in that part of the world. What we do have documentation of is Himmler, Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS, which oversaw the internment camps, writing a letter basically chewing out the camp commander's butt, because he says there's too many deaths. What is being done about this epidemic? They were really concerned. They had this outbreak in 42. So the head of the SS, the evil, dreaded Heinrich Himmler, is writing about, you've got to get this under control. Okay.
Yeah. And by the way, my understanding also is all of these official documents that supposedly prove the Holocaust, none of them are readily accessible. It's like you can't look up, like, for example, you know, when you start digging into, you know, did Hitler ever actually, is there any evidence that Hitler ordered the extermination of the Jews? And they start spinning this whole thing about, well, you know, there was a speech made by Himmler and, you know, he talked about it.
Yeah, this guy said this and it was a wink, wink. People understood, but they didn't actually say it, this and that.
Right.
David Irving has a $10,000 reward out for anyone who could produce in order, a documented order of any kind. So there's no documentation of that. Now, we talked about Ernst Zundel, the Canadian, and the famous Zundel trial. Oh, so much stuff came out of that trial. That was a disaster for them. They must really regret having put him on trial. I guess they figured he wouldn't fight back as hard as he did.
Mm-hmm.
But during that trial, Raoul Hilberg was called to testify, Jewish Holocaust author. And they put him on the witness stand. And he's actually been dubbed as the founding father of Holocaust studies. It's a whole field of pseudo-academic scholarship has spread up. It's Holocaust studies. It's like women's studies or African-American studies.
Yeah, all that
stuff. This stuff. But this guy's big, founding father of Holocaust studies. He wrote a 3-volume, 1,273-page, The Destruction of the European Jews. And it's regarded as essential reading for aspiring academic Holocausters. Now, these guys have really perfected the art form of the fallacy of verbosity and complexity. You just overwhelm somebody with volumes, okay? And the simpleton just assumes, oh, wow, this is the real deal. He just hit me with a whole encyclopedia. But it's all fluff, okay? Now, at this trial, while under cross-examination at the trial of Zundel, Hilberg was broken, and he was forced to admit, quote, that he was at a loss after being asked to provide a single scientific report proving the existence of a single gas chamber. Hilberg also admitted that there was no documentary evidence either. And here's a headline that actually snuck through Canadian newspaper. No scientific proof that Jews were exterminated, says witness. He's not saying it's a hoax now, mind you. He's saying, I just can't explain while there's no documentation or forensic. I'm at a loss. But it still happened, he assures us. So there's the payoffs, the underlying parts. There are no scientific reports proving that Jews were exterminated in Nazi gas chambers, a Holocaust academic said. A German war document contained no mention of killing Jews.
Wow.
So this is how I call this mining for diamonds amidst a pile of cow manure. Okay? Forget about the volumes that he wrote. All of that is negated just by these two concessions. No forensic evidence, no documented evidence. Thank you very much. But look at all the other, I don't care about the other stuff. We have to deal in receipts.
Wow.
You don't have bodies. You don't have forensics. The gas chambers have been tested, by the way. We're going to get into that. Came out negative for any traces. So if you don't have documents, you don't have forensics, what do you have? You don't have an order. What do you have? Yeah, we've got tons of people walking around with the tattoo on their arm. Well, they're all dead by now. That only proves that the internments happened, which we know. Nobody denies that there were wartime internments. And that they survived the internments, which kind of, wouldn't every Holocaust survivor logically contradict the narrative? Because how did you survive? Did you hold your breath when you were in the gas chamber? I mean, I don't understand.
Well, that's another thing that I think is a major stumbling block for people is, they'll listen to all this and they'll say, but I mean, how is it possible? I mean, what you mentioned about the survivors is obviously a legitimate point, but people will get hung up on that and say, well, if this whole thing was a hoax and none of it actually happened, then how do they get all these people out there with the tattoos and talking about their experiences and all of these things? Like, how did they get all these people to lie, and perpetuate this hoax for such a long time? That's a major stumbling block for folks.
Well, they don't lie. That's the thing, because what do all these people say? I was in Auschwitz. Here's my tattoo. Okay. Did you personally see people being gassed to death? They can't answer that. No. And some of them in these various trials, they were put on the stand. They performed so poorly that prosecutors don't call Holocaust survivors. They stopped calling them there, because you start digging. Yes, but did you actually see people pull out of gas chambers? They can't answer that. And how come you didn't go in a gas chamber if it was an extermination program? And then you have some people in the camps. They heard rumors and they believed it, and then after the fact, it's sort of like the people who claim they witnessed an airplane go through the World Trade Center. They're not necessarily lying. They know there was an explosion. Then they saw it on TV. Oh, I was there. Yeah, I saw it. But it is logically contradictory to say, yeah, I saw people murdered in the gas chamber, unless you were in the gas chamber, which raises the question, well, how'd you survive? So there were no gas chambers. There were internment camps. Yeah. And there were some typhus outbreaks. And then towards the end of the war, when supply and medicine and all the railways were bombed, some of the people were in bad shape, but so were some of the Germans. You couldn't get food and supplies. But no gas chambers.
And you're going to talk more about that at the.
I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the forensics the other way. So it's not just a case of not having forensics to establish the gas chambers. We actually do have forensics debunking the gas chambers.
And then there's also
that's the big takeaway from the founding father of Holocaust studies. I am at a loss to explain why we don't have documents and forensic evidence.
Wow. Wow. And then there's also, of course, the logic you have to apply to in terms of, like, along the lines of forensics, of getting rid of all the bodies, supposedly burning them in the ovens and all of that sort of thing. Are we going to talk about that too in this piece, or no?
Well, not in this piece, but it is in my book.
Yeah.
And,
I think you mentioned that it took like 8 hours to cremate your cat or something, like
I think the cat was 3 or 4 hours just to cremate a cat.
Yeah.
And that's with modern day sophisticated ovens. You're going to cremate 6 million people. There's no record of that. And if you look at the crematoria in Auschwitz, they look like little pizza ovens.
Yeah.
It's a physical impossibility. So
is it your hypothesis that they created these ovens in the aftermath, or these ovens were actually used for something?
No, they did have crematoria there. And they had 10 or so ovens. Well, you know what? Because people died just from attrition in these camps. Older people, and people do get sick. And you didn't want to bury people, especially if you had something like a typhus epidemic. No, they had crematoria there at Auschwitz, of course.
But it was actually mathematically impossible to cremate all of those.
Yeah, I've got an illustration in my book. You would need, I had all those football stadiums. You would need the entire NFL football stadiums packed, and you have to cremate them one at a time. It's it becomes laughable. Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's continue here.
Okay, now we go to Timothy Ryback, another well-known scholar. These are the kind of guys, every time they write a hoax book, puffed up in the New York Times and Washington Post. All right, so these are big names. He's just as big a name almost as Hilberg. Timothy Ryback, in 2004, wrote an article for the Wall Street Journal.
The Wall Street
Urinal, yeah, I call it.
I like that.
He also conceded, like Hilberg, that both forensic and documentary evidence are nowhere to be found. And they all concede this now. They just don't say it too loudly. Okay? But now you've got a problem, don't you? And so he writes this article for the Wall Street Journal. And when you really dig into this article, he just digs the hole even deeper. Because he's acknowledging that this stuff doesn't exist, but now he's got to try and explain it away, and it's almost comical. And I'm going to read you right from the article. This is Timothy Ryback, big-time Holocaust scholar. He writes, there is little forensic evidence proving homicidal intent. Really?
Wow.
But now how are you going to explain that? Well, here it comes. Here comes the rationalization. The Nazis were scrupulous when it came to obscuring the final solution in bureaucratic euphemism, and also dismantling or obliterating their machinery of death. Oh, that explains it. There were such great cover-up artists. That's why we don't see the evidence. Well, then how do you know about it? Right? Look at this next line. The dearth. That's a very powerful word, dearth. We don't hear it used much, but it means a total lack of. It means nothing. The dearth of hard evidence has fueled a growth industry in Holocaust denial.
Well, why wouldn't it?
Well, excuse me. I mean, you're telling me you got no hard evidence. You're saying exactly what Hilberg just did. You're admitting it. And then you're going to turn around and call people Holocaust deniers and put them in jail.
Wow.
You just said there's a total lack of evidence.
Because they went to such great lengths to hide this supposed final solution that they also tell you that Hitler wrote about and spoke openly about, the final solution.
It's absurd. Imagine if I were to accuse you. I accuse you of robbing a liquor store. Okay, my king, where's your evidence of that? Well, Patriot's pretty clever. He hid the evidence. I don't have any, but he did. Imagine convicting somebody on that. So he's telling you right there, a dearth of hard evidence.
Wow.
In response to revisionist charges, the Poles tested the gas chamber walls for residual traces of cyanide gas, but found none.
Holy crap.
So look what he's revealing here. The Poles tested, and this was done because someone earlier had tested it, went over there, and unbeknownst grabbed some of the remnants of what's said to be a destroyed wall and tested it. Fred Luchter. And then they start hollering, "Oh, Luchter, he's anti-Semite." Okay. Now the Poles tested it. It's the museums in Poland. And it does right there. They found none. So he's telling us no forensic evidence, no documented evidence, and the Poles did a test on the gas chambers and they can't find any gas. Well, how's he going to wiggle out of this one? Unlike the delousing chambers whose walls still show cyanide staining, the gas chambers betrayed no residual traces of Zyklon B. Now he's telling us that the chambers which were known to be used to delouse, to kill the lice, that's got stains in the walls. He's telling us that. But where they killed all those people, doesn't. People went to jail for saying the exact same thing as he's just told us, as he just admitted. So how's he going to wiggle out of this one? Well, continue. The homicidal process was so murderously brief that the cyanide never penetrated the interior surface. Of course.
What?
It happened so fast. It killed all these people, millions of them, but it didn't have time to penetrate into the wall like the other gas chambers that were used for clothing.
Wow.
So this is like really pathetic, but
that is absurd.
People don't really critically analyze every single sentence. When somebody's pumping out bullshit, you can't skim. You've got to engage every single sentence. So look what he just told us. No forensic evidence, no hard evidence. They tested the chambers, no gas. I guess because the process was so murderously brief. This is comical. And in my book, I go through the whole article line by line. I rip this guy. It's like comedy writing. I don't know if you got to that point yet.
No, I haven't gotten to this part yet. Yeah. I think I'm on like I want to say the chapter 6 where you talk about the prior historical lies about. Actually, I'm actually a lot more in the beginning than I thought I was. But yeah, I'm only on like 40s or 50s.
Yeah, I'm establishing precedent, which is always very important. But you'll get to this stuff. Yeah. So we scroll down a little bit. And that's just one excerpt. The whole article is just as ludicrous. These concessions are truther gold, and that is why we irreverently refer to the big lie as the song that never ends about the event that never happened. Thank you, Mr. Hilberg, and thank you, Mr. Ryback. For more amazing Holocaust debunks, read The Song That Never Ends. Again, that's only available at my website. Part of the PDF package, or it's also part of that WW2 World War II combo, Bad War, if you want physical copy. And here's some more. There's so much. The book is packed. This is just, like I said, this is a tiny morsel. This alone, what I'm presenting, obliterates the hoax. Where do you read the whole book? Look at that headline. This is from a British newspaper. This is another one of those cases where something sneaks past the radar screen and then it's never given legs. This came out in 1948. Americans torture Germans to extort, quote, confessions. Germans had to be kicked in the testicles beyond repair. And the interrogators were all Jewish. And a freshman U.S. senator named Joseph McCarthy made this a big deal, a big issue. And he was initially attacked. Before he went on his campaign to expose communists, he wanted to expose this. So they were torturing people, and the Soviets were doing that too, kicking people in the tentacles. And they'll say, okay, he said this, he said that. He signed his name to it. And then they would present this at Nuremberg as if it was evidence.
Wow.
So there was torture, there was brutality. All but 2 of the Germans in 123 cases were investigated, had been kicked in the testicles beyond repair, he charged. This was standard operating procedure with our American investigators. They're mostly Jewish. So you get to confess that to anything.
And this is what they use as the evidence.
Yeah, stuff like this. Yeah. Wow. and that's the. And then there was other evidence that they just manufactured, like bars of soap, lampshades, and they made displays. And then Eisenhower forced the local population to walk through camps and see this stuff.
I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
All fake, all fake. And again, these characters all admit this now. They say, yeah, the lampshade story, that was not true. The soap, that was not true. The numbers, yeah, they weren't that high. But it still happened, so they never let go of the fallacious premise. But what they have done is they basically conceded that all of the major elements are false. And it's interesting, just by quoting all of the major Jewish scholars alone, you could pretty much debunk the Holocaust. So that's the trick. A new fact comes out, they can't deny it. So they'll do the limited hangout thing. They'll say, yeah, you're right on that point. However, and then they go back, circular logic.
Wow.
And in my book, at the beginning and the end, I offer a $500 reward. Nobody has ever taken me up on this, but it still holds. I throw it out to your audience. We can enlarge that a little bit. $500 reward to the first reader who can cite any original source documented or forensic evidence to confirm that, quote, 6 million or even just 6 Jews were ever executed in Z gas chambers during World War II. Submit your case and any attachments to Mike at realhistorychannel88@gmail.com. I'm totally serious about this. I know nobody's going to claim it. It's not there, but anyone who wants to doubt it, all right, go do a little research on the internet. I want original source. Don't quote so-and-so said this. Give me something like an actual German document, an actual forensic exam at the chambers. Now, look at this woman here on the bottom. And I got a bunch of these in the book. These are like, there's a whole industry that emerged where these people would write books. They go on the lecture circuit. And this woman writes, can you read that?
She says, one night I was amongst 200 Jewish women thrown into the Majdanek gas chamber. Next morning, they let us all out. The Nazis had run out of gas. Okay.
There's a bunch of this stuff. Nobody dares challenge these statements. There's people who said, "Oh, I pretended I was dead and I survived the gas chamber." So a lot of these are hucksters. Some of them were communists, but a lot of them were actually legitimate, saying, "Yeah, we heard about it. Did you see it?" No, they don't even put them on the witness stand anymore. But it's big money. So that's a lot of people made a lot of money. The books, the lecture circuit. There's even a website where you could go for your school or local civic group, whatever, and you can, for a fee, get a Holocaust survivor to come speak to your event. And the only ones left now would have been like 7 or 8 years old in the camps. It doesn't matter. Those still go around and speak at the event. Hey, here's my tattoo. It made good money. And then there's the books. There's the extortion from the German government. Then they got money from the Swiss government, the Dutch government. They say, oh, you didn't do enough. So it's big money. Is the geopolitical component. It is the foundation for the establishment of the State of Israel. You put this all together and you begin to see how important this was to the cabal. Okay? And how important it is to destroy this lie. It's a lie. And that doesn't make me anti-Semite. I'm giving the Jews good news. I'm telling you this horrible thing that you think happened didn't happen. But this is horrible what we've done to German people. I remember a German girl in my 7th grade class, and everybody's looking at her funny because she had blonde hair. We're learning about the Holocaust, and Hitler just wanted blonde-haired people, and she's like crying. It's sick, and this has been going on. It's got to stop. So I'm very passionate about this issue, not because I have anything against Jews, because I don't like lies, and this particular lie is the ultimate fortress to defend the Kabbalah.
Yep.
See? Yeah.
Yeah, if this falls, then everything falls.
Yeah.
In terms of the foundational history that you talk about. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is it. Wow. Well, folks, there you have it. I mean, it's just a very small excerpt from Mike's book. The book itself, again, is available at his website. You can get the hardcover along with the Bad War. You should really get both of them together. It also comes with the PDF package. Yeah. So I'm going to keep reading, folks, and keep red pilling myself on this stuff. But I mean, just in a couple of page article, Mike lays out an argument here that's pretty hard to refute. I mean, he's got all the receipts in his book. So, folks should do their own research and dig into this stuff, and do yourself a favor and learn the truth. Get closer to the truth by asking those questions, even if you're hesitant. Like I said, that's why I prefaced it that way. I mean, I understand fully that people are hesitant to go there, especially somebody like myself who's become somewhat of a quasi-public figure. To start talking about the Holocaust.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I had my reservations as well, but I honestly think at the end of the day, what matters the most is the truth. That's why I got into this. So take a look and start to ask some questions, and pick up Mike's book and support everything that he does. He's a truly amazing historian. So realnewsandhistory.com. I think I already got the answer to my final question every night, which is, what are you working on? What's coming out next? I know you're putting out the piece on.
I actually was able to finish it up just before the show, and it's probably going out as we speak. The Nick Fuentes. Trump just elevated him to.
He sure did.
He's part of the big leagues now.
Yeah, he sure is. I mean, this guy is.
Now he's hardcore.
Yeah,
and I don't even talk like the way he talks.
No,
because I don't want to give the impression to anybody that I don't like Jews, or what I'm saying. He comes off like a Jew hater. Okay,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So why would the operation promote it? I believe they want a certain amount. I think it's for shock value. They really need to kill this defense mechanism of playing the anti-Semitism card.
Yep.
And someone like Fuentes, as off-putting as he could be, and I even the way he talks sometimes, I'm a little uncomfortable with.
I am too. I got to be honest with you. I've seen clips of the show, and I'm like,
he's like, "These Jews." I don't talk like that. I don't talk like that. I have Jewish readers. I've had Jewish friends over the years. Yep. Not everyone is a Marxist or crazy Zionist. Believe me.
Right.
However, I believe what the thinking here is, it's going to take a little bit of shock from a bomb thrower like him to once and for all deactivate this anti-Semitism card that is so dangerous.
Yep.
But I think they'll calibrate it in such a way they're not going to trigger pogroms or anything like that.
No.
There's a reason why Trump just promoted him.
Now, if anybody thinks that the end result of the Q operation is that they're going to be pogroms and there's going to be, people hunting down Jews and things along those lines, I got news for you. That's not going to happen. I think they're going to do everything that they possibly can to protect innocent people. That's really what this is all about. I mean, getting the truth out, but at the same time, it's for the same reason why, we talk about why things had to be this way, why they couldn't have, done the things that we're seeing play out now. They couldn't have happened back in 2020 because the public wasn't ready for it. But I truly believe that when Q said that something along the lines of, every precaution is being taken to protect you and your family, he's talking about all innocent people. And let's face it, folks. I mean, there's no denying the fact that the Zionist cabal, the Jewish mafia exists, and it's right at the top of the pyramid. There's no denying that. But at the same time, it's absolutely ludicrous to believe or to think that all Jews are evil, all Jews are satanic. I mean, it's total nonsense. Just like Mike. I mean, and that's why I've always been, I've felt a responsibility to mention that every time this topic comes up. Not because I'm afraid of being called an anti-Semite, not because of anything along those lines, but because I know good people who are Jewish. I know people that quite honestly, I have a couple of friends that they'd lay down their life to protect, the people that they love. I know them to be good people. They're not evil. And so, we have to draw that distinction. It's very, very important. And that goes for, anybody really, so anyway, excellent show. Hopefully you folks enjoyed it. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button and check out the links in the description. Again, the Unicity products are absolutely fire. I highly recommend folks look into it. And of course, go to realnewsandhistory.com. Make sure you support Mike by purchasing his books. Make sure that you, like we talked about earlier, if you haven't already, created a Rumble account. It's free. It takes only a couple of minutes. And make sure you're following both Mike and myself. We love to see our channels growing. And as Mike has indicated, and I fully agree, when people stumble across this information and they say, oh, Mike King, who's that? Real News in History, what's that? And then, they see 20, 30, 40,000 people following him. It gives a certain air of credibility to the channel, and it makes the information more likely to spread. And that's really what this is all about at the end of the day. So make sure you're following him and myself on Rumble. Make sure you're doing everything you can to support what we do. And we will be back, of course, next Monday. Who knows what this week is going to bring? It's always going to be an adventure. Sometimes I wonder about that. I'm like, gee, I wonder what Mike and I are going to be talking about next week. A couple days go by, and you know how it goes nowadays. But it could be interesting. And like I said, I'm really aiming to get that solo podcast out. It's been it's been several months since I've actually done a situation analysis, and I finally put one together. So stay tuned, folks, for that. And I will see you folks in the not too distant future. Thank you so much for listening. God bless. Godspeed, everybody. Patriot out.
Good night.